Before we begin, viewer discretion is advised. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Newsom also continues to mimic Trump style. He's now accusing Joe Rogan of having something he calls CDS.
What do you think he's talking about?
I don't know. I barely watched what you
The perception of it, the perception of California, the perception of some of the problems that face the state, and maybe how some of the people around the country might think.
I think there's a California derangement syndrome, and he's part of it. I mean, I think people are obsessed with focusing on what's wrong with the state and not what's right with the state.
Gavin Newsom just did the unthinkable. He fired back at Joe Rogan. Yep, the governor of California versus the king of podcasts. Who had that on their 2025 bingo card at basically a showdown between a hair gel commercial and a protein shake ad. Rogan threw the first punch, and Newsom ego couldn't resist swinging back. But hear the kicker now, the internet roasting both of them. And wait till you hear what set off this political cage match.
Told the Los Angeles Times Panera would not be exempt from the law. The spokesperson also did not acclaim the Bloomberg piece, which cited sources close to the matter that Newsom pushed for an exemption that applies to businesses that bake bread and sell it as a standalone item, calling the report absurd. So is it a fake story?
Or is it something that they
might have corrected
course quickly? Yeah.
Yeah. Roll up to the top. So where's the initial report? Let's find the initial report.
Before we dive in, go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe. You're not going to want to miss this one. Gavin Newsom finally snapped. After months of pretending he had no idea who Joe Rogan was, even as Rogan face dominated memes, podcast clips, and Reddit threads, California Golden Boy just couldn't hold it in anymore. The man who styles his hair like a Kennedy and governs like a Netflix algorithm finally decided it was time to clap back.
The governor gave this creepy speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties.
While it's still only 6% contained. And he did this little dance like, I've been talking with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We've got some ideas, a speculator, we're going to have some meetings.
And the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
It's so creepy.
And not with calm political poise, oh no. Newsom came out swinging like a Beverly Hills influencer defending her favorite skincare brand on Instagram Live. It all kicked off the way these things usually do, with Joe Rogan doing what Joe Rogan does best, saying something blunt, unfiltered, and guaranteed to spark an emotional meltdown in at least 3 state capitals.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is challenging Joe Rogan to have him as a guest on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. It started, of course, when Rogan took shots at the governor, saying he hasn't done a good job running California and wouldn't make a very good president.
Comments made their way to Newsom, who has been governor of California for 6 years. He responded by using the chicken emoji to say that Rogan is too chicken to have me on his show. That's a quote. And he went to list on his state's accomplishments, saying, quote, California is the 4th largest economy in the world, #1 in manufacturing, farming, and new business starts, #1 for tech and venture capital investments, #1 in public higher education. I could continue. Invite me on anytime, Joe.
Joe Rogan made a jab at California, the chaos, the homelessness, the crime, the taxes, and of course, the governor flawless hair. Normally, Newsom team would smooth it over with the usual PR routine, a polite statement, a vague nod to ongoing efforts, maybe a photo op at a recycling center. But this time, Gavin had enough. He wasn't about to let the bald guy in the Texas podcast bunker call him out like a substitute teacher trying to lecture the cool kid.
Expensive. It's too expensive to leave versus what you would save, and the regulations that you wouldn't have to go through, and all the bullshit with all the permits and all the... What California does is overregulate everything. They get as much government involved as possible. They suck as much tax money out of you as possible. And then they still leave the place a mess. They still have homeless people everywhere. It's still a disaster. It's still a woke shit show of virtue signaling at every level of the government. Still. Like no course correction at all. They're going further and further into La La Land. And you're like, Jesus.
Then Gavin fired back, and wow, was it theatrical. Picture him rehearsing his comeback in front of a mirror, straightening his tie, muttering, You've got this, Gavin. You're the governor. You've survived recall elections, tech billionaires, and Twitter trolls.
He talks about California. He's like, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. California has all this industry. Hey, fucko, they're all thinking about moving. The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move. If it was like every business could instantly pull up roots and replace everything and have everything running in a week at the other place, they'd all be gone.
We can handle Joe Rogan, they said. But instead of landing a clean hit, Newsom's response felt more like a high school debate captain trying to roast a UFC fighter. To be fair, Rogan didn't exactly open this feud with diplomacy. His idea of constructive criticism usually sounds like a flamethrower dipped in protein powder. And Newsom, for all his polished charm, doesn't exactly give Street Fighter energy. He more of an "I'll have my assistant issue a carefully worded statement" kind of guy. But after Rogan's latest swipe, Gavin patience packed up and left faster than Californians moving to Texas. His comeback wasn't just defensive, it was a full-blown display of political gymnastics. He didn't just disagree, he spun Rogan points into a monologue about leadership, innovation, and California being the model for the future. It was like watching a guy get roasted for his broken car and replying, "Actually, that's not a problem with the car evolving." The internet, of course, wasn't buying it. Within hours, the clips went viral. Rogan fans were celebrating like it was fight night, while Newsom supporters scrambled to tweet about context and nuance, as if either of those ever survive a viral feud. It 2025. Nuance is extinct. Memes rule the world now.
Some of the success that they're hanging their hat on is his social media campaign where he talks like Trump.
It's no longer the rule of law. It's increasingly the rule of Don.
So he's got a bunch of people from his organization that tweet for him, and they tweet like Trump, and they're saying this has elevated him in the public's eye. That's terrifying.
You've seen it across the board. People are scared to death of this guy.
He's starting to learn the internet sensibility.
It's the appalling silence. It's the complicity. You're seeing the most successful, wealthiest people scared to death of this guy.
Which is heavily trolling, does very well. What he has is a terrible
Speaking of memes, the internet absolutely delivered. There were side-by-side shots of Rogan hoisting a kettlebell and Newsom sipping a latte. One caption nailed it: the battle between testosterone and Teslas. Another featured Newsom hair gleaming under a spotlight with the text, "Weaponized shine levels detected." And somewhere in the chaos, Elon Musk probably liked to post just to keep the fire going. What made the whole feud even funnier is how completely opposite these two are. Rogan the eat elk, lift heavy, question everything type. Newsom the drink green juice, call it policy, and schedule a mindfulness retreat type. Rogan hunts his dinner, Newsom double-checks that his was ethically sourced. It's a cosmic mismatch, like a bear arguing with a barista.
Things that he says when he gets confronted with things, we're the highest this and the highest that. Like, everybody's leaving.
You will have a president who will be running for a third term. Mark my word.
You have the highest unemployment. You have the highest homelessness.
He doesn't believe in free enterprise, crony capitalism. He is wrecking this country, wrecking the economy.
You killed Hollywood. Hollywood doesn't exist anymore.
And yet, somehow, Newsom convinced himself he could win this. The governor actually believed his polished, politician-style rebuttal could hold its own against Rogan's army of gladiator fans. It's that same unshakable confidence that lets him announce San Francisco turning a corner every 6 months. As expected, the internet split right down the middle. Rogan fans mocked the governor's response as tone-deaf, while Newsom's supporters applauded him for standing up to misinformation, which, in political terms, usually means "please stop bullying us." Meanwhile, Rogan didn't even have to say a word. His fanbase did all the talking. Every subreddit, YouTube comment section, and podcast fan page turned into a digital battleground. They treated Newsom's statement like a piñata, taking turns whacking it until all that spilled out were buzzwords about electric cars and tax credits. The funniest part, Newsom probably thought he was winning one for the reasonable majority.
which means it was preventable. You certainly prevent them from raging into the tragedy that they became.
Because that was a few months ago. People have short memories. They go, that tweet was fun. He did a post on X that was fun, and it doesn't matter that they let all the criminals out in California.
That was grotesque mismanagement. That could have been prevented. You can't prevent hurricanes, can't prevent floods, but you certainly can try and start reducing the moral hazard that we've allowed to explode, quite honestly.
He's bad. The people go so much further than him.
The dozens of people who've lost their lives, the hundreds of billions of dollars worth of property damage.
That's how bad the Democratic Party is right now.
That the thing about polished politicians, they still think reality can be managed with press releases. Rogan, meanwhile, knows the internet's a jungle. You don't walk in there armed with bullet points. You bring chaos, energy, and a sense of humor. And humor, unfortunately, isn't exactly Gavin's strong suit. His version of comedy is smiling through criticism and pretending he's above it all, which, in this case, only made things worse. Nothing irritates the internet more than someone acting like they don't care when it's obvious they do. You could practically see the cracks in Newsom's composure during his response, that tiny jaw twitch, that over-polished grin. He was trying to project calm, but his body language screamed, I can't believe I'm arguing with the world's most famous podcast host while trying to manage a state that's literally and figuratively on fire. And of course, Rogan fans wasted no time turning it into a meme war. California versus Texas flooded every platform. Rogan, standing in his gritty, barebones gym, Newsom, posed beside solar panels like he just inked a deal with Whole Foods. Texans posted wide-open landscapes and freedom slogans, while Californians countered with traffic jams and $20 smoothies. It stopped being about politics and turned into a lifestyle showdown. Rogan became the face of Escape the Move to Texas, Live Free Energy. Newsom embodied the system, polished, scripted, and inspiring on the surface but hollow underneath. Still, Gavin tried to double down.
You can't ruin a city and then go on to ruin a state and say, guys, that was just practice. Once I get it as a president, I'm going to fix it.
Wake up, America. Wake up. You will not have a country if he rigs this election. It's a lawless president. Wake up, America. Wake up to what's going on.
But he's such a great politician. I mean,
No,
he's
not.
so smooth.
I think he's terrible. And he's a good artist.
Well, I think it's pretty sick and pathetic. Everything you know about Donald Trump's America, and that was top down, you know that for a fact. Everything you know about the authoritarian tendencies of the President of the United States.
He started tossing around buzzwords about innovation, technology, and California being the future, which is pretty ironic, considering half the people building that future now live in Austin because they couldn't afford rent in San Francisco. Every time he talked about progress, the internet countered with clips of people stepping over tents on city sidewalks. But here's the twist: Rogan and Newsom are actually more alike than either of them would admit. That's what makes this feud so entertaining. It's not politics anymore, it's performance art. Two versions of masculinity on display, rugged realism versus designer optimism. And, as usual, the internet chose sides based on one thing: who made the better meme. What really sent the drama into overdrive was when Newsom's allies started calling his response brave. Brave, as in speaking truth to power, which is hilarious when you remember he the power. It's like watching a CEO pat himself on the back for replying to a customer complaint and calling it heroism.
But it's, there must be something to it. And it's so hard with that guy because when you just look at the way he praised Biden, I would never run against him. A man of character. You know, like I'm old school. It's, God, it's like he's playing someone in a movie that's a crazy person. It's like, that's how like a really good actor would play a complete crazy person who's insincere enough.
Meanwhile, Rogan didn't even have to lift a finger. He just went on his next show, laughed about it, and moved on. For him, it was pure entertainment. For Newsom, it was full-blown damage control. That's the difference between them. Rogan feeds on chaos, while Newsom tries to contain it. And online, chaos always wins. Then came the flood of parody videos. Editors spliced together Newsom's speeches with Rogan commentary, layered in dramatic music, and uploaded them with titles like The Great California Smackdown and Gavin vs. The Bald Truth. You can debate policy, you can't debate memes. By week 2, even late-night hosts joined the fun, joking about Rogan's protein powder versus Newsom hair gel. One dubbed it the ultimate culture clash, CrossFit versus crosswalks. The whole thing snowballed until Newsom team quietly stopped mentioning Rogan altogether like he was Voldemort with a Spotify contract. The irony, Newsom's strong comeback only reminded people why he frustrates them in the first place. He polished to the point of parody.
Why would Bloomberg spread bullshit? Bloomberg is a financial paper, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's not something...
I don't think it would be,
You really can't do that if you're running a financial paper. It's not like the New York Times. The New York Times can say Israel bombed the hospital and 500 people are killed and put it on the front page, even if it's not true. And everybody just assumes it's true because it's the New York Times. But they can kind of get away with that. And then they still exist.
You never really get the sense you're hearing Gavin Newsom the person, only Gavin Newsom the brand. Every word sounds polished, tested, and triple filtered to make sure it offends absolutely no one. But when you're facing someone who thrives on raw, unfiltered honesty, even when it's messy, that approach just doesn't land. It's like trying to outshout a lion using a PowerPoint presentation. And you can tell Gavin genuinely thought this would help his image, that he'd come off as assertive, confident, maybe even relatable. The irony, he wants to be the face of modern leadership, sleek, tech-savvy, socially conscious, but the moment he engages with Rogan, he dragged into the mud pit of online chaos. No teleprompter. No applause. Just raw, unpredictable internet energy, and it devours anyone who isn't built for it. Somewhere in Sacramento, California, PR department probably held an emergency meeting titled Managing the Rogan Fallout. And to top it off, Gavin's team started hinting that Rogan influence was overblown, as if millions of listeners and global headlines were just some passing internet fad. That, like a mosquito insisting the thunderstorm isn't that serious.